Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, Chuck, I know. Nice to see you. How are you, Chief? Good to see you. Sheriff? Thank you. Lieutenant? Nice to see you. Chief? Pleasure. Officer? Nice to see you. Hi. Joe, great to see you. Pleasure. Ken, thank you. Thank you for being here. Hi.
Sheriff Ballard.
How are you, Sheriff? Thanks for being here. Thanks for your service. Great to be here.
How are you?
Hi.
Mark O'Brien, Director of Mental Health and Substance Abuse.
Thanks, Mark. Hi, Chief. How are you? Good to see you. Hi. Good to see you. The people behind me are heroes. They risk their lives for our safety. They may be walking the beat. They may be in their patrol cars. They may be in cracking tough cases in the lab. We need them all. And they defend our cities and towns. But now we have a new epidemic. Every so often, there's a new drug that does havoc with our citizenry. And sometimes we're late to the game, like with crack and crystal meth. And now we have one of the greatest, which is opioid addiction. Opioid addiction, unlike the other scourges we've had, doesn't just affect one group. You see it in the cities, you see it in the suburbs, you see it in rural areas. You see it with well-to-do people, you see it with middle-class people, you see it with poor people. You see it with the young, you see it with the middle-aged, you see it with the old, particularly some of our vets. And so opioid is a terrible, terrible thing, and it's just gotten worse because something called fentanyl, a deadly, deadly chemical, is often mixed in with the other drugs, with the opioid drugs. And fentanyl is rearing its ugly head here in Orleans County. It's odorless, it's colorless, it's more potent than morphine. It's so dangerous, you can get a little bit of it on your skin and die. First time you inject yourself with it, you can die. Sometimes you can even breathe in and you can die. It is a very, very serious problem. It's about 100 times more powerful than heroin. And they market it as a super high. They go tell the kids and everybody else that this is a super high. Use it and you'll feel just great, but it's deadly. And to show you the effect that it's had here on Orleans County, listen to this. This is not a large county. What's the population, Chuck? About 50,000? 42,000. So in 2017, Orleans County had 43 overdoses and 8 fatal drug overdoses. That's of opioids or opioids and fentanyl. In 2017, 224 people from this county were admitted to chemical dependency programs. The number's going up. Already, and we're only 2/3 of the way through the year, 36 overdoses, 7 fatal overdoses. Heroin combined with fentanyl is called the Gray Death. It's quick, it's sudden, it's deadly. So why am I telling you this? Because we do have new ways of going after fentanyl. And it's very severe. Now, when fentanyl or heroin comes into Orleans County, it's not the fault of these folks behind us. They do a great job dealing with it. Fentanyl is not made in the United States. The chemical compounds that make fentanyl are largely made in China, and the Chinese government just looks the other way as it pours into the United States. Some of it comes here directly. Some of it comes through Mexico, where it's put in labs and manufactured and added to other drugs. But then it comes here. So the federal government has a real responsibility when it comes to fighting opioid addiction, when it comes to fighting fentanyl. And by the way, the numbers I gave you were Orleans County. They're 10 times worse in Monroe County. So this is a problem that is everywhere. Now, so why am I here? Well, we need to do something called the POWER Act. It's Providing Officers with Electronic Resources Act. As I mentioned, fentanyl is very, very deadly. Just touching it or breathing it in can kill you. The POWER Act would provide a grant program, multi-million-dollar grant program, to provide local law enforcement, such as our law enforcement here, our sheriffs, our police, with a high-tech portable screening device that can detect fentanyl while somebody is investigating or going after a crime. It uses laser technology, and it's so good it can even see through packaging. So it saves lives. It makes the lives of these men and women who put their lives on the line safer. And the Power Act, the good news, it's one of those things. I try to be as bipartisan as I can whenever I can. This bill has bipartisan sponsorship. Myself and Senator Brown and Senator Markey on the Democratic side. Senators Portman, Senator Rubio, Senator Capito on the Republican side, 3 and 3. And we need to get this passed right away. Right away. We cannot wait. You cannot say, let's wait till next year. We have a budget coming up, October 1st, September 30th, and I am here to tell these men and women who risk their lives for us that I'll do everything I can to get this in the law so it'll be available starting October 1st. And today I'm calling on all of my colleagues, House and Senate, to get behind the Power Act. It's not controversial, it's bipartisan, it should pass right away. Now, we've done things like this before. There are devices that can detect. We've gotten a bill already passed last year. I talked about this and sponsored a bill that deployed this equipment at mail facilities. The Chinese often send the fentanyl in just big packages in the mail, and they arrive at the larger post offices like the Rochester post office, and then they go to the drug dealers and they're distributed. And now we have these machines at many of our post offices in the larger communities where the fentanyl is arriving, and they've done a great job detecting it. And that passed last year to provide the money for that. And so we're trying to do the same thing now for these screening devices, which can be used for police officers on the job. And one other thing I'd say, we're trying to put together another large bill on opioid addiction. Again, bipartisan. It's called the Opioid Crisis Response Act. And it would help our HIDA, which is our combined federal, state, and local law enforcement. We have one in the Buffalo area. We have one in the Rochester area. Last year, the Greater Rochester Area Narcotics HIDA team, called Granite, it partnered with Orleans County's Major Felony Task Force, the Albion Police, and it brought down 2 separate drug pipelines. The beauty of this HIDA, which is the second thing we're trying to do, is, you know, when the drugs are coming up, they're not starting here in Orleans County. They're not even starting in Monroe County. But if you can detect the pipelines and the drug dealers, which the feds know about and sometimes the state authorities know about in New York City, it gives our police here, our sheriffs here, a leg up on what's coming up. And they can go after it, and they've done it successfully. So the HIDA should be strengthened, and if we can pass this opioid act, there'll be more money for treatment, more money for law enforcement in the HIDAs and elsewhere, and we can do that alongside the Power Act. We've got to do this. We can stop this scourge, but we got to give the men and women who are putting their lives on the line every day the ability to fight it. And it's not just in the big cities. It's right here in Orleans County and throughout rural and suburban America, affecting, as I said, just about every kind of family. And so we got to do it, and do it now. And I pledge to these folks that I will do everything I can to get this bill passed in the next month.
I can tell you, as a career prosecutor of 28 years, never have we dealt with an issue like we have with fentanyl. Fentanyl is a form of drug that is easily accessed by anybody in any part of this country in small towns, yet not 1 gram of it is produced in the United States. We're told by authorities that a $5,000 purchase of fentanyl by drug cartels can actually be sold on the street for $1 million. So you understand the profits that are being obtained by the distribution of fentanyl. So we work hard on a daily basis to cut those lines of fentanyl off coming here to Orleans County. The problem with fentanyl is that many that are addicted to heroin are going to the city to buy heroin, but little do they know that what they're actually buying is fentanyl, and that it's extremely volatile, as you know, and extremely deadly. Senator, we thank you for your efforts in getting this equipment to us. We thank you for caring about law enforcement and the efforts that we make here in the trenches. And we appreciate your support.
Thank you, Mr. District Attorney.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Sheriff.
Thank you. Senator, thank you so very
Thank you
much.
so much, Sheriff.
Many of the people here know that this fighting this opioid epidemic is very dear to my heart. Although we are making progress, there's still a lot of work to do. With this legislation, giving the men and women the ability to detect it, safely remove it, I think is so crucial to it. Not only will it save them, but the people that they're protecting.
Right.
And it inadvertently protects them. That being said, Orleans County really is working hard to stop it. We have started the Sheriff's Cares program, and it rolled into Orleans Recovery, which is the rehab section of that. And Sheriff Apple, Albany County, we used his platform, and it is in our jail. So we really want to thank you for your support on this bill. Keep us in mind. And anytime you're out here, please reach out. We
Thank you, Sheriff.
I appreciate it.
Thanks for your good work and your service.
Thank you.
And now, go ahead. And now we have Police Chief Nenny.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you.
I just want to reiterate what my colleagues here have said. In Orleans County, we rely so heavily on our federal partnerships. We work closely in local law enforcement with our drug unit and our drug task force, but we really can't do it without the help from the federal government. And they provide assistance to us on so many levels, and this is just another example of how important that partnership is and how much we rely on that. Again, to reiterate what is said here, there isn't a family in Orleans County that's not been affected in some way, shape, or form by fentanyl, by the opiate crisis, whether it be a friend, a family member, a colleague. And, we try this on so many different approaches, not just in the apprehension level, but in the detection level to get before, it gets to that point. But more importantly, on, like the sheriff said, like on the education and the rehabilitation. So, in law enforcement, we're trying so many different ways to deal with this, and with the help of the federal government, it certainly helps us help the people of this county and our community. So again, thank you so much,
Chief.
Senator. Thank you.
Appreciate it.